have a history of not holding together for very long. Certainly it could, and we will see how long this one holds together. But certainly if you're in Woodruff County right now, you want to be able to take shelter.
James, I've got the storm track right now for you in the towns that we're expecting this to arrive. Again, Doppler radar indicated tornado. We don't have any confirmation that one is on the ground, but this is some very significant rotation. It's going to be in Hunter at 6:17, McCrory at 6:39. The warning goes until 7, I believe. Goodrich at 6:47, Tupelo at 6:54, and Bradford at about 7:05. That's moving towards the north-northwest, an odd direction because everything's rotating around Laura, but it's moving towards the north-northwest at about 45 miles per hour. What I can do is zoom in on this area of rotation as it moves towards Hunter in the extreme southeastern corner of Woodruff County. So there's Hunter, cotton plant. You're good with this one area of rotation. That's not to say something else can't happen later on, but that's it. It's crossing over Highway 78 and will be crossing over 306 within the next probably 1 minute because it's moving so quickly. We're getting radar scans about once every minute or so, so this will update in just a second. But 306 right here, and there's Highway 49, so this will move up towards the north and a little bit west of due north up on Highway 49 near Hunter. So on the east side of that community, good one down here looking pretty good. I think it's north of you, but this is some of the strongest rotation I have seen all day long out of this tropical system. We're continuing to look for new information with this, but this does take into account a good area of Woodruff County. Why was White County included in this? These are the polygons, and it cuts in just so little of White County. So White County, most of the county is just fine. It's just this 0.5% of the county that caught the polygon. It's mainly Woodruff County, and there it is moving towards the north-northwest. And if you're watching us from McCrory, if you're watching us from Augusta, right now you need to start thinking about where you would go if this were to hold together your tornado precautions inside of interior of your home. You want to find the room that has the most walls between it and the outside. And for goodness sake, stay away from windows. You would never see this coming. It's completely wrapped in heavy rain and wind. So take your tornado precautions right now. You have anything new, Barry? Strong rotation on radar.
Yeah, it really is. And as we look at it on computer number 1, it is, as you said, the strongest rotation we've seen all day long. This will not last all that long, but we're going to be with it until it is. And it's that eastern part of the state that I think has enough instability and will be the more favored area than anything closer into central Arkansas. But that's something that we're really looking at, and I'll stop it right there. Todd showed you all the highways that it was going to cross. It'll be a while before it gets up toward McCrory and Augusta. So there it is as it stands right now. It's north of the I-40 corridor. Let me just tell you, though, this is a big rainmaker. This is the east side of the state, kind of the tail end of this rain band going through. And right now, this thing moved through Little Rock, I got to tell you, 2-3 hours before we figured that it would. But look at the rain around Morrilton and Conway, over into Perry County, moving up through Searcy and just in a ring around that center of circulation, which now I would say is moving up somewhere maybe in far southeastern Grant County down to the southeast. But the area that we were always looking at for the biggest possibility for tornadoes was over into eastern Arkansas. And so that's exactly where it's happening right now. And we'll go back to this storm as it moves off to the northeast. Every scan, we're going to be looking for those really bright greens and really bright reds. And I'm just going to go back one scan, and I think it might have been stronger the last scan. There's one scan ago, now this one. So the wind going away from the radar site and coming toward was stronger really over the last 3 scans or so. And now the latest scan is not quite as strong. It still has inbound and outbound winds in a very small area. And that's the brilliant thing about Doppler radar. It's not just where rain is. It's which way that rain is moving inside, being driven by the wind. And when you see reds and greens bright like that coming together, that's an indication of higher velocities, both coming in and going away. But hopefully we see a trend that starts to go down. James, do you see the same thing I did on the last scan.
Yes, there's been a general weakening trend just over the last few minutes. But if you're in the town of Hunter, right along, I believe that's US 49, right along there in Hunter, that's the southern part of Woodruff County. You need to be in a safe place right now because this is one of the more impressive tornado signatures that we have seen so far today. And it's generally moving towards the northwest. It's headed towards Howell down the road if this holds together. And our last scan that we just got right here, we're again seeing another weakening trend. That's good news. And as you can see here, that's US Highway 49 down the road. Up further into Woodruff County, you have McCrory and Augusta. Hopefully this weakens by the time it gets further into the county. Todd?
Yeah, I'm looking at a product right now called, it's a shear detector. There's Hunter, Highway 78, and you see the terrain here, a lot of farm fields out in this area, but this is where the rotation, if there is a tornado on the ground, that's exactly where it would be located. Where 78 and 306 come together, it's going to go just to the west of that intersection by just a couple of miles, right over Hunter. But as you've been pointing out, and as Chief Meteorologist Barry Brand has been pointing out, the rotation is there, but it has loosened up a little bit, very characteristic of what we see with these thunderstorms. And I can't even say thunderstorms because these don't even contain lightning, but these areas of rotation, these feeder bands. But these are winds right now that are inbound winds, and then these are outbound. So we have a circulation right in here, but it was very close together, and now it's kind of pulling apart and loosening up. So we're far away from the radar site. You have to keep that in mind as well. A new scan, there it is right there, right over Hunter, just north of town. I'm going to zoom in on that area in just a second. But you have to remember, we're looking at several thousand feet up above the ground. Is this making it all the way to the ground? I don't see why it wouldn't in this type of environment. But we do see that area of rotation at that level, and we have to go ahead and assume that it's down there on the ground. Let's zoom in into these areas again. This is not as well defined as it was. We see high velocities here. We see high velocities here going in a different direction, but they're kind of separated and not close together. That's good news in that it tightened up and is pretty much at least beginning the trend of falling apart right now, but it's going over Highway 49, probably just crossed over that and 306 near Hunter. And if you're watching us from Augusta, if you're watching us from McCrory, don't panic about this, because all you've got to do is just take shelter. If this even lasts up into your area, most likely it would be a weak tornado, very small, and I have doubts that it's going to make it all the way up towards your area, but we need to play this safe than sorry. Barry, do you have anything new?
Well, just that there's another tornado warning just out of the Channel 7 viewing area, but in an area that we still have viewers, we know, and it's in Phillips County as well. Let's take a look at the computer number 1, and you'll see that storm that we've been talking about, looking at the velocity product there, and then on down to the west of Mariana and through Marvel and on up to the north. There is a little bit of a rotation, and it would be north of Marvel that we're seeing that. That too moving off to almost due north and headed up into Lee County and out of Phillips County fairly quickly there. So we're going to be watching that area, but by far the stronger rotation is the one that is north of Hunter in southeastern Woodruff County. And as Todd mentioned, it's not as tight a rotation. It's a larger area, and it's not as strong as it was, but it still is rotating. And we're going to stop the motion there. That's just the last 15 minutes that I've been looping. So it will move toward McCrory very quickly. So if you're anywhere between that circulation center west of Highway 49 and on up to McCrory, go ahead and very quickly get into a place in your house where you can get through a strong storm. And this one, even if it is a tornado, is very survivable. These will be on the low end of tornadoes if it is occurring, and we aren't sure that it is, but it could do damage in a very small area. And the reason that we're on here is these can accentuate those feeder bands, and you can have rotation within them, a tornado that forms, and really do a lot of damage over a very, very small area. So we're just going to say this is moving quickly to the north. You're not going to be in your safe spot in your home for very long, but you might have to be there for just a little while as it moves up toward McCrory and then over to Augusta. Again, down to the south, that area has been reconfigured. We'll go to the Memphis radar there, and I still don't see a lot in this the storm in the western part of Lee County. Memphis has issued this, and again, it's just barely outside of the official KATV viewing area, so we're going to watch it, but I don't see anything that looks very impressive there. And this latest scan, I believe, on this one is starting to weaken somewhat. Todd, do you see that?
I see that, and I just want to point out that this is about 12 miles to the south of McCrory, to the southeast of McCrory. So moving at 45 miles per hour, it's going to be there just like that. One other feature that caught my eye, Barry and James, another smaller area of rotation adjacent to that along Highway 49. Now that's not all that strong, but that is something I want to keep an eye on. And there it is, a brand new scan. That's gone. And this continues to show signs of weakening. So, like I said, these situations in tropical environments are very fluid. They change very quickly. One scan, the rotation is there. The next scan, it's gone. And we just saw that with that smaller area. And then with the one that we've been following northeast of Hunter, it is separated even more. So this warning, which goes into effect until 7 o'clock, I have doubts that it will last that long unless something changes. Meteorologist James Bryant also has some new information.
Yeah, I've got our rotation parameter pulled up. It kind of picks out everything, picks through everything that you don't want to see, and just picks out right where the rotation is. And as you take a look at it, you can tell it really strengthened as it went into the western part of St. Francis County, north of I-40. You see the greens kind of pop out, and then it goes towards Hunter and quickly begins to weaken. That doesn't mean that there can't be a tornado, but it does mean the circulation is beginning to weaken as it approaches Highway 49. It's now on the other side of Highway 49. We are watching maybe a secondary circulation developing possibly off to the east or northeast, but both right now look a lot weaker than they did just a few minutes ago. Barry?
Yeah, I'm seeing the exact same thing there. We are still technically within our Channel 7 news at 6 o'clock. We will stay with this storm until it dies out, and as is mostly the case, they do die out. But we will go to programming when the tornado warning is over, and that may include Wheel of Fortune coming up in just a little bit. If we have to come back on, we will. We will not let any of you in eastern Arkansas down. There will be small rotations, we think, that could last a little while longer. I think we're still in this window, but I think the window is closing for this tornado development. But again, we're going to be watching that eastern part of the state. Let's go back to our Max computer number 1. And the rotation really is very much broader and quite a bit weaker. The inbound winds there, those bright greens, over a large area, and the outbound winds are not what they were. So McCrory, you're still in a tornado warning. Augusta, you still are too. But if you're in between this circulation center and McCrory, still take the time to go to a safe spot in your house. Don't go outside and look. You won't see anything. It's raining. It's raining hard over there. In fact, I'll put the radar on this, and you can see that broad area there of rotation, but it's just pouring rain. And so it would be fruitless to do that. Just go ahead and go into the safe spot in your house. And again, we're going to continue to get a new scan on this. And the next scan, I think, will be very telling. I know that the National Weather Service is looking at this storm very closely as it moves off to the north-northwest. And it still could be producing, if not a small tornado, a small funnel cloud, a lowering of the cloud base there. This is not like the typical ones we see, though, in the springtime of the year here, and then again in the fall. It's a different mechanism. This is a tropical system. This is not even a big thunderstorm. It's just that it is a shower, and there's so much what we call wind shear in the atmosphere, a lot of wind energy. Now look over to the east. There is, and this is the Memphis radar, so the colors are reversed on this, but you can see at Forest City, west of Forest City, there's another tornado warning, and it's for that storm. And I'll put the radar on this, and there's a little circulation center there. So that is not within the viewing area of Channel 7. But we do have some viewers over in St. Francis County. That's moving off to the north. So these are the two areas of concern right now. And the other tornado warning that was down south of there, I believe, has been canceled. Yes, it was canceled very quickly. So it pulsed up, and then it came right back down. Todd, any thoughts on that storm right there?
Waiting for some word from the National Weather Service about this, but the rotation definitely continues. Talking about maybe a little while taking some counties to the south out of the tornado watch, but that tornado watch goes into effect until 9 o'clock. But there it is. I think they're going to let this ride for a little bit while longer, but I'm not including in this map. Let me scoot it down just a little bit. But here's McCrory, just to give you an idea of the road network here. This is going to come up. There's 260, there's 17, 145. This is going to start to come up towards the north. And McCrory, I'm more concerned about you, not because I think there's going to be a tornado, although there is that chance. That's why there's a tornado warning in effect. But there's a large wind field here, gusty winds, and I think you could see some gusts up to 50 miles per hour. You've got heavy rain in place, the soil loosening up a little bit, so it won't take much to tip over a few trees. I don't think it's going to be widespread. And you know what I haven't done over the past hour or so, check out the power outages. They're at about 53,000 across the state right now, and it's worth looking at Woodruff County. Only 2 power outages being reported in Woodruff County right now. So that's at least some good news in terms that we know that sometimes we can see if there's a large number of outages that might correlate to the presence of a tornado. But there are 2 areas now I'm noticing. There's one up here along Highway 145 and this one here. So this is the main area. This is a weaker one, but they're going to continue this tornado warning in McCrory. Stay in your safe place. I think meteorologist James Bryant, you've got some stuff on there on Storm Scan.
Todd, I was going to talk about the second circulation that's developing there in Woodruff County, kind of off to the east-northeast of the original one. That one's a little bit more concerning now. As the initial one begins to weaken, sometimes you can see a secondary one begin to weaken. So as you look just to the northwest of Highway 49, you'll notice that as the initial one begins to kind of slow down, the next one kind of gains a little bit of steam. And then as you look back towards the Forest City area, there's quite a bit of strong rotation just to the southwest and west of Forest City. That's going to cross I-40. There is a tornado warning in effect. Those of you in St. Francis County, you never want to be driving along a freeway when a tornado is coming. So if you know somebody out over there, you might want to give them a call. 2 areas of rotation that we're watching, one in St. Francis County and one in Woodruff County. Both of them hopefully going to be short-lived, but we'll be with you until they diminish. We have seen other damage around the state today due to just tropical storm force winds. This one is from Hope, southwest Arkansas. This is from Angela. That's a tree on a house, and we'll just go down the list here. There's another angle of that tree on a house there from southwest Arkansas. This is in Conway, the northern side of the metro area. Didn't see the same amount of winds that the rest of the state saw, but still there's a tree down on a fence. And there's the same tree. We have many reports of trees down around the state, even a little bit of structural damage to light metal buildings there, plenty of heavy rain as well. And then how about this picture from Cleveland County? That was a carport, and that is from Michael Key, Cleveland County. That's in south central Arkansas. That is took some wind there, and we had wind gusts in that part of the state, gusting at times over 50 miles per hour earlier today. And then how about this one from Park Hill in North Little Rock? We saw rainfall rates up to 12 inches per hour. It didn't last long, but it filled up the streams very quickly here in this part of the state. We also got a couple pictures of some area rain gauges ranging from 2 to 4 inches. Showed you this picture earlier. This is from Thornton, Arkansas. Christy Burke sent us this one. She sent us several in this area of the state. This is in Calhoun County. There were several large trees down, power lines down as well. South central Arkansas accounting for most of the power outages in the state today. This is again from Christy Burke, several large trees there, and then there's another picture of the rain gauge. And how about this one from Valonia? Even the northern side of the metro didn't escape all the tree damage. We saw a lot of trees down today, some of them large, just due to tropical storm force winds. The good news is that those winds are diminishing as the tropical storm continues its northward push. Now we're really just monitoring the heavy rainfall potential on the north side of the metro area and the couple areas of rotation there in east central and northeast Arkansas.
All right, James. We knew that there would be trees down today with the combination of wind and rain, but you're right, it is dying down. Here's an overview. Sometimes we miss the forest for the trees sometimes, and there's our rainfall that's very heavy, but rotating up into the northern part of the state. So to the north of the circulation center, it's obviously very much heavier rain and wind from Perry County into Conway County, Faulkner County, White County, and then on the east side of it, and this is the quadrant you look for in that upper right quadrant, northeast quadrant of a landfalling hurricane, you'd look for the possibility of tornadoes, and that's what we're seeing tonight. So here is the latest on our rotation that's moving toward McCrory. I got to tell you, it's very, very broad. I would be shocked to see, or I would be surprised to see a tornado within that, but there still is a tornado warning there, and there's a lot of wind energy with that. So you folks in and around McCrory, it's moving so quickly now. I think it's moving faster than it was. Go ahead and go to the safe spot in your home. They have reconfigured that and extended that tornado warning. And so let's, even if there isn't, get into that safe spot in your house. You won't be inconvenienced for very long at all. And all of these are going to die out at some point this evening. We're also watching over into Forest City, that kind of broad circulation out to the west of Forest City there. And the Memphis office of the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for them. But our concern is the storm approaching McCrory right now, and we're going to continue to keep a very close watch on that. As far as power outages, 53,000 now. The number has actually come down. But we knew that the winds were stronger in South Arkansas and gusting over 50 miles per hour because there would be thousands upon thousands of power outages every time we checked it that were added to the list. And then when it got up into Central Arkansas, quite a few, but now we're not seeing really many new outages. Places like White County, places like Faulkner and Conway County. Some, yes, but just not a ton of those. And so that's the good news as far as the general storm is concerned. But these rotations within, Todd, that just doesn't quite want to go away over there.
Yeah, but it's not as impressive as it was earlier, that's for sure. Show you the reflectivity. This is the rainfall that you see with the the KATV weather app on your smartphone. You see on Channel 7 when we do the coverage. How in the world are you going to pick out a tornado in this mess? It's just heavy rain. This is why we also tell you you'll never see it coming, because there's heavy rain. Again, you have to look at the product called velocities with the Doppler radar, and there it is. And Barry has been showing a loop. This area is very strong. It looks like that wind is going just near or just to the west of McCrory, a core of very high winds. That rotation just is falling apart. This one, the National Weather Service just said, hey, we noticed another area that we were talking about several minutes ago, but they're watching this one as well. But that warning has been trimmed back a little bit. It's in effect until 7 o'clock. I'd be shocked if it survived until 7 o'clock. But stepping you through, let's go back here to about, I think this was issued right around 6:10 or so. But look at the loop. I'm going to put this into motion and watch how it moves north. The rotation is there, and now it's really dying out. That second one, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go rocket back, and now watch that other area of rotation. See how that continues, and that might be enhanced just a little bit right there east of McCrory. But that one, I just don't see much at all. What do you have over there? An Arkansas Department of Transportation camera that you're monitoring, James?
Yes, this is near Palestine on I-40 looking to the east towards Forest City. And this is just proving what you just talked about, how almost impossible it is to see these tropical-like tornadoes that are embedded in rain. You know, we have seen videos of them before, but it's in an area that's lit well, very flat, and usually the person is very close. In this scenario, this is I-40 looking east. This is in Palestine looking east towards Forest City. This area under a tornado warning, and you're looking at the exact direction where you would at least be able to see some type of lowering, if not some type of funnel, and all you can see is just rain. And that's the problem with these storms. It's very difficult. You'll usually never see it coming, very rare at the very least. As you take a look at that storm that we're keeping a very close eye on, the rotation now to the north of I-40 and the storm in Woodruff County off to the northwest there also has another area of rotation, Todd, developing just to the southeast of that original tornado warning near Penrose, again near Highway 49, just kind of an area along a line that's just kind of caught up in a favorable wind field. And I think as you see this lift to the north over the next several hours, you'll probably see several more areas begin to spin, and that's what we've seen over the last couple of hours.
Yeah, James, this area of rotation really has me concerned now. This one near Grays, it's going west of McCrory, and this one's going to the east of McCrory, but not by much. This one is really starting to concern me. So if you live along Highway 64, you're under a tornado warning, but it wasn't for this circulation. It was for this one over here, but a new one has developed over here, west of 145 going up towards 64. So Morton along 64 going into McCrory, that's the area that I think that there's a possible tornado, and this is why they're going to continue this polygon here, this tornado warning. And there's a brand new update. See how much it moved? And it's staying intact. But McCrory, stay in your shelter, but you're living a very lucky life right now because rotation to the west, rotation to the east, going around town right now. However, for the smaller communities, and I know for the farmers that are out there, take cover now. Let's hope there aren't any, and it's moving over fields. That's a possibility. But anybody in these locations that this rotation is over, please go to the interior of your home or your business and put as many walls between you and the outside. Going in a little bit tighter here, there's Highway 64, there's 145, and there's the circulation standing out very, very clearly, Barry.
Yeah, that's the one that, and really in the last few scans, as that other rotation died, this one really tightened up, it strengthened, and it would not shock me to not see a strong tornado, but to see a weak tornado from that one just to the east of McCrory. Let's go back to the radar there. All important radar view, and so glad that Doppler radar exists because this shows that area, and we're going to zoom in just a little bit more, to the east of McCrory and the small community of Morton. So it would be going right through that area if you live on the east side of town there in McCrory. And then moving on up a little bit later. So it's moving fairly rapidly, not due north, but north-northwest, I would say, and about 40 miles per hour. Please go to your safe spot from McCrory over to Morton as this crosses the highway. It's already doing that, and it's on up to the north. There is a little bit of processing time with these pictures. So this is the time to, it's not going to be a big tornado, even if there is one. If there's not, hey, no harm. You've already taken cover in your house and everything is fine, and you're going to be through this very, very quickly. We will look out and around this area, though, for more evidence of circulation. I think there is still a narrow window, but I don't think it's going to last for a long, long time. We'll start to see just the energy of the storm itself will start to diminish. Every minute that passes, a landfalling tropical system loses its fuel, gets more and more in the way of friction, just interaction with land, and it can't be as strong. So it can't impart as much energy to the atmosphere. And so hopefully these, really not thunderstorms, but showers over in eastern Arkansas, they can grow up enough that they have winds from one direction at the surface and a little bit different direction up above, and we call that wind shear. And that's what's happening over in that eastern, that right front quadrant of the landfalling storm. Again, I've kind of drew it out into quarters there. It's the northeast quadrant of a landfalling storm that gets something like this. It's moving off to the north, and it's moving just on the east side of town from McCrory. Still, that other circulation exists, but it's not nearly as strong. There's not much in the way of outbound winds. So when you have outbound and inbound within a very small area, like we see right there, crossing 64, moving up to 269, and it will be moving on up to the north of McCrory here, that is our most concerning area. James, do you see anything on the latest scan on Storm Scan?
Yes, actually, noticed that the very strong rotation getting very close to Highway 64, and that's in Woodruff County, and it's pretty impressive. This is a feature that tries to comb everything else out and goes just to rotation. You see those bright greens just east of McCrory? That's where the strongest rotation is. It is moving off to the northwest. As you put this in motion, you notice we've been tracking several different circulations over the course of the last 30 minutes or so, and as one weakens, another one has developed, and perhaps as this one weakens, another one will develop behind it. The main circulation right now is on the east side of McCrory. It continues to move off to the northwest, quickly approaching State Road 17, and that's in the direction of Riverside there. And the other tornado warning down to the southeast, Forest City. We looked at the camera near Palestine, didn't see anything except heavy rain. That rotation is beginning to weaken. It's this entire line that you can see. It's from really Faulkner County all the way into eastern Arkansas. As that lifts to the north, it's in a favorable environment where it just at times things are going to rotate. So if you're back towards Conway, where you're now getting a break in the rain, I think the tornado threat a little limited there, but it's with this line as it moves to the north. So we'll have to watch Cleburne County, Independence County, Jackson County as this line kind of moves to the north over the next hour. Again, normally these are short-lived, but certainly cause for concern when they do pulse up. They can produce tornadoes.
All right, James, and the live Doppler network here with the velocities. I've been watching that area rotations. You've been combing out and filtering all the other products out and really honing in on this east of McCrory. We want to warn everybody along Highway 269 right now. Here's Riverside, McCrory. Things are looking good right now. Not saying something can't happen later, but for this on the east side of town, it's going to miss the center of town. It's on the east side of town, even if it's on the ground. But hold on, I think I got something here. Okay, there's a funnel, but that was in Helena, West Helena with a different storm, and that's not in our viewing area. But this one here, 249 up towards 145, it's going to go up towards the due north of McCrory. The Doppler radar should get a new scan on that in just a second, but go in here, that's 145 and 269, where it comes up and goes up like that. So this is going to pass over that within the next 2 or 3 minutes at the most. Sorry if I look distracted sometimes looking at social media in so many different places, just trying to find out what's going on from your viewer reports. And if you ever have pictures or video, don't ever risk your safety. We love having you help us out and sending those pictures to chime in at KATV.com, but it's not worth it, your safety. Just stay safe. That's always priority. But I'm looking at so many different sources trying to find out if we have anything on the ground, and so far I've got nothing. All this has been is Doppler radar indicated, and that's all they have been so far. But sometimes it's difficult to see whether or not there's damage or not until a survey crew can go out and take a look at it. But there's still significant rotation. The one earlier is gone, but just a brand new update. There it is. There's no way they're going to drop this tornado warning anytime soon with that showing up, that update on the radar. It's northeast of McCrory. I still think you should stay in your safe place, but I think you can really breathe a sigh of relief right now. Heading up towards 269, you need to be in your safe place right now. And it only takes one, folks. We haven't had a confirmed tornado today, but it only takes one. Barry?
Yeah, and looking at that storm, you sometimes look for ground confirmation from social media or from reports from law enforcement or from the public. Sometimes we look for power outages as well. In Woodruff County right now, and this storm has been in Woodruff County for a while, 2 power outages. 2. And I was really expecting quite a bit more than that just from the wind, the feeder band coming up through there. Down to the south, though, Monroe County, you've had 942 outages, and we're holding steady around 55,000 statewide power outages. But that storm, and now a new tornado warning has been issued for it. I think it may be getting a little bit stronger than it was as it moves well north of McCrory, and now Jackson County has been included in this as it moves up toward Tupelo and Weldon, and then on up into Jackson County. And I'll broaden out our view there. And Newport, kind of on the south side of town, you are in this tornado warned storm now. A brand new tornado warning that will be moving up. And this one, I believe, is in effect until about 7:15? 7:30. Okay. So it will move off to the north. Again, we have said this with the last warning that it probably won't last that long, but lo and behold, it looks like it may. We think, though, that at some point this thing has to die, and we're certainly hoping with every scan that it does. We apologize for being on the air. I know a lot of you have tuned in for Wheel of Fortune tonight, but anywhere in our primary viewing area, we are going to be on the air with tornado warnings. And this has been a really, really active day. And believe me, we'd rather be watching the wheel as well. But we're watching these storms right now as they move off to the north of McCrory and up toward Tupelo. And then eventually this track would take it on up toward Newport. How fast was this going, Todd?
It's moving north at 30, they're saying.
Okay, so we'll put a track on this. Moving in that direction. Tupelo, Auvergne, Irwin, Newport at 7:26 would be the time frame on that. So it's a long way away from anywhere up in that northern part of the Jackson County. And again, I don't think it'll last that long. But the small community of Tupelo, it won't be long until it makes its way into your area. And it still is looking maybe a little tighter on that circulation there, right at the junction of 269 and 17. James, what do you see out of this storm?
I think that's probably the most impressive circulation we've seen out of a tornado-warned storm so far today. And I got to make a point. You know, tropical systems in their feeder bands, they're not as high up as a normal thunderstorm. So when you're this far away from the radar looking into a tornado-warned storm, it can kind of be more difficult to see if there is a tornado. And now that we're seeing some very strong rotation, that's definitely cause for concern. You notice we've been pointing out greens. There's a pixel of yellow in here just north of McCrory. That's State Road 17. And then there's Jackson County with Tupelo, a Riverside just to the west. This is moving in a general north-northwest direction. direction, and it is just north of McCrory. I'll put it in motion so you can see the direction that it's headed, moving north at about 30 miles per hour. Notice over the last 20 to 30 minutes it came from the southeast, and it is strengthening over the last few scans. And so far today, that hasn't just continued. Usually they pulse up and pulse right back down, and we hope that that's going to be the case in this case as well. With the last scan right there, it still looks pretty good. I don't have anything as far as a correlation coefficient, so no debris signature, but that's a very strong tornado signature there that's going to be entering Jackson County pretty soon if it holds together. Barry?
Yeah, it really is, and you hate to see that, and you don't. You sometimes see that with a storm that is along with the tropical system, but the strength of that one is more impressive, and we were really hoping to see a trend in the other direction. But there it is as it continues to move up to the north, kind of northwest. We'll put it back into motion for you. This is just 15 minutes, so it's moving at a fairly rapid clip. If we put it into motion over the last 45 minutes, you can see this is, in some way, shape, or form, has made its way completely across Woodruff County, and it'll be entering Jackson County. But over the last 45 minutes, it was out east of the cotton plant, and then it moved just to the east of McCrory and moving on up. But I don't like the looks of it, and we really are hoping that this is not one of those smaller, probably on the smaller end of tornadoes, but we're going to assume that this is a tornado on the ground. Let's just do that. You folks in Tupelo, anywhere along Highway 33 there, kind of on the west side of this, the tornado polygon, I think is probably our most likely area that this is going to be. And that's the great thing. As these start to shift a little bit with Doppler radar, we don't have to guess where the circulation is. We know exactly where it is, and we're showing it to you as it moves to the north. It doesn't absolutely mean there's a tornado on the ground, but let's assume there is, and we go to the safe spot in our house, the lowest floor, the most interior room of your storm as these continue to move off to the north. Still a long way away from Newport and places up along 67, but we're going to keep a close watch on this one. Another tornado-warned storm now over to the northwest of Forest City, and that is moving up into the western part of Cross County. And so we'll continue to watch that one as well. But nothing like the one north of McCrory and south of Tupelo. Anything stand out to you on this one, Todd?
Well, I've been looking at all the social media posts. I have been looking at the National Weather Service information, and there's still no confirmation that this is on the ground. It's embedded in a lot of rain, but going right up to 17, there's 33. I have a feeling what's going to happen here. Tupelo, all these places, as James and Barry have been telling you, all these places, we urge you to hunker down and get into your safe location. Put as many walls between you and the outside, and just stay there for right now. But I've got a feeling what's going to happen, there's going to be a scan where all of a sudden it goes away. And I'm hoping that that happens before it gets any further, especially up towards Tupelo. But it's right now quite impressive. And Barry, you've got...
Just while you're still tracking that storm right there, you remember I said there were 2 power outages in Woodruff County? That number has jumped to 273. So something has occurred for power outages to jump 271, and I think it's probably as it moved just to the east of McCrory there, Todd.
I think, we've had... James will know the count of tornadoes so far this year, 32. So we may have added at least one more to that count so far this year. But the huge jump like that, and you think, well, there could have been a tornado, and that indeed could be the case. It just depends on what it hit, and let's hope it didn't hit anybody. But this is near Goodrich. It's moving up towards Tupelo, and it's on the west side of Highway 17. McFadden up here along 145, getting a little bit closer to this warned area, and we'll try to do some streets. And again, it's a lot of rural roads, so I'm not sure how many will show up, but there's the community of Goodrich. And like I said, there's few roads in this area, but this will dissipate, I promise you. A core of high winds, I think, west of Augusta. But when we get a new scan in a few minutes, I'm willing to bet, because that's been the tendency all day long, is that they ramp up like this and they don't stay strong. So we'll get a new scan, and I got a feeling you're going to see this weaken tremendously very soon. But right now it's strong, and we want you to take your tornado precautions. up there towards Tupelo as we head, and there's the new scan. It's still maintaining itself. Maybe not as quite as strong with the reds, but boy, there's some bright blues there, a little more separated, but the rotation continues with the brand new scan. And if anything, Barry and James, it may be, while we've been tracking towards Tupelo, Arkansas, it may go just to the west of town just a little bit. So let me name some of the locations that it may go up towards Tupelo. That's Highway 33 coming out of Tupelo over here in 17. So I think it's going to cross over somewhere right in here where 33 bends, where it's going up towards the north and then shoots to the east. I think it's going to cross over between Tupelo and right here. If this were to hold together, just to give everybody a frame of reference of this, possible tornado. And now a few hundred are without electricity. We don't know why. It could have been strong winds caused by the tropical storm, or could it have been caused by the tornado. Either one of those, it doesn't matter. We want you to be safe with that. James?
It's going to stay west of Highway 17. I think you're onto something right there. That runs through Tupelo and then down towards McCrory. And you said it was going to cross over Highway 33 there, the highway that runs just to the west of Tupelo. It's interesting. You say on our last scan, it may have just been a hair weaker, just ever so slightly, but still very strong rotation that's going to move into Jackson County if it already hasn't. Remember, there is a little bit of time between a radar image and then what is actually happening, just a couple-minute delay. So maybe it is just to the west of Tupelo. A lot of this ground is very flat and it's not forested. A lot of it is farmland. And guys, there's another scan, and it's approaching southwest of Tupelo and north of Riverside. Still pretty impressive for the situation, the tropical type of circulation. The rotation still clearly evident and just as strong as it was a few moments ago. Hopefully there's at some point here in the next scan or so as it gets to the west of Tupelo where it does begin to weaken. But at least at this point, I would urge everyone that's in the path of this in Jackson County to seek shelter immediately. It looks like it's going to stay on the western side of that tornado warning, guys. I think they may have to issue. It's going to be closer to the northeast part of White County rather than Amagon in that part of Jackson County. And then there's the new tornado warning that has just been issued because it's kind of deviating from its northward path. It's going to go more northwest. So that's going to include the western part of Jackson County and more of the northeast corner of White County. It's going to include Bradford and then that southwest corner of Jackson County. There it is in motion. Oddly enough, it has just been pretty much the only circulation today that has stayed strong and kept going. We'll see how much longer it can keep going. But the northern part of Woodruff County and the southwest part of Jackson County, northeast White County, not a bad idea to seek shelter. This is the most impressive circulation we have seen so far today.
Yeah, James, it just continues to keep going, and we continue to look for some weakening. I've got a new track on this one, and it will be headed up a small community of Bingle, Coffeyville Oil Trough at 7:32 tonight. That would be more than a half an hour from now. We keep saying, well, it probably won't last that long, but for now anyway, it's still continuing to go. And this is a very rural area, lots of farmland, as this storm really takes a hard left turn, goes across Highway 33. It's right on that highway right now from Tupelo to Augusta, that highway. And it will make a left turn toward the White River and continue to have inbound and outbound showing up in that same small area. So there is the outbound and there is the inbound on that storm. James made a point, it's quite a ways away from the radar site, so we're seeing up into the cloud. We can't see low-level circulation quite as well from a greater distance, but obviously there's some rotation within that, and there's a lot of wind energy in this storm, especially that right front quadrant, we call it, that northeastern quadrant of a landfalling tropical system. And if you just kind of move this out, I'll put the rain back on here around the state. You can see the heavy rainfall, by the way, that's still falling through White County, through Woodruff County and Jackson County, and up to Heber Springs. But if you just draw the state into quadrants, you would see that there's one quadrant there, and there's one quadrant there from near the center of circulation, which isn't far from Little Rock right now. It'd be that right front corridor up through here that would be the area of concern. And so that's where this storm has developed and continues to sustain itself. So there's a lot of wind energy there and just enough instability to keep those showers, I hesitate to call them thunderstorms, although they could have some lightning with them, but they keep them elevated enough that they tap into that wind energy of different wind directions at different altitudes, and it causes spin. The latest scan there, I don't think is quite as impressive as it was. We're going to put this into motion, and again, it's going to be going through a very rural area of northern Woodruff County, and then moving over into that southwestern part of Jackson County, and maybe barely into the northeastern corner of White County as well. And that's where the tornado warned area is. Some of the farmhouses out there, you folks out there, we're broadcasting for you as well. Go to the interior of your house. If you have a storm cellar, go down into that. It won't be there long. You won't be inconvenienced for very much time, and you won't see it. It's getting dark. I'm sure it's very dark out there, even though the sun is not down. And this is rain wrapped, and they continue to move off to the northwest. But I'm going to stop that and just kind of compare the last couple of scans. And yeah, it's holding together fairly well. The inbound may not be quite as much as it was, nor the outbound. And so, yeah, we're just looking purely at the wind right now. And Todd, I hope this trend, and I think it's a little bit of a trend, continues there, but it's not done yet.
Well, just based on everything that we've seen today, these things just don't last all that long. And so I hope that that's true. But Tupelo, west of town, it's veering just to the west of town. Stay in your safe place right now. The Weather Service says this is moving north at 30, but I think it's more northwest at about 30. So Bradford here as we go into White County. This part of Jackson County is under a tornado warning, but it's the area that kind of juts out here towards the west. And then we go up to Pleasant Plains there in Independence County and 167. There's 167 coming out of Searcy, Judsonia, then on up into Pleasant Plains for reference. But west of Tupelo, and it's going to move, it's in the far northern areas now of Woodruff County and just about to cross across the county line and into Jackson County. A little tighter look at this. I'm going to go in and look. There's some of the communities here welded along 17. I think you're looking good shape. It should stay away from you. But Bingle, just to the east of Bradford, that's another community that I want you to take your tornado precautions. Yes, there could have been a little weakening, not much. And there's a new scan. That's even weaker. That's good. There's a separation between these bright greens and the reds. It's not as strong. It's still there, folks. It's not over. But I can tell you that for the newest scan that just came in, it's not as pronounced as it was. That's not to say the next scan it comes in and it's much stronger. But what has been the characteristic with each one of these spins is that for them to ramp up and then to quickly go down, and very characteristic of a landfalling tropical system. Just to let you know, too, flash flood warnings continue in the metro for the next few hours. The heaviest of the rain in the metro is over with. We're going to look at that probably when we wind things down with these tornado warnings. But again, we're watching this for you. The community of Bingle up here, it looks like that's over there into Jackson County. But this seems to be weakening. I'm going to confer with my colleague over there, meteorologist James Bryant, to get his thoughts on that new scan, because I don't think it's quite as strong as it was, and you also have some pictures to show.
Yeah, a slight weakening trend over the last couple of minutes with this storm that's going to be moving into the northeast part of White County and then the southwest part of Jackson County. One thing to keep in mind here is this circulation will move over Highway 67. If you know someone traveling that doesn't normally get severe weather warnings, you may want to give them a call. It's going to be between roughly Bradford and then Newport. If you're within that range, you may want to keep in mind exactly where you are as this circulation moves off to the northwest. By far, as you take a look at the region, that's the strongest, most impressive circulation that's in the state right now. The tornado warning off to the east, just to the west of wind, doesn't look as impressive as it did earlier. Hopefully that tornado warning gets canceled. The circulation that we are keeping in mind now is in the far northern part of Woodruff County. It's north of Augusta. It's west of Tupelo. You guys are in the clear. It's the northeast tip of White County, southwest Jackson County, and maybe eventually Independence County that we're concerned concerned with. But you guys have said we have been seeing a trend. Hopefully it continues to weaken. We've gotten numerous reports, and we're continuing to get them, of trees down around the state just thanks to tropical storm winds. This one is in Otter Creek right here in Little Rock. This is from Neil Washburn, and that's quite a pine tree. And Todd said something earlier today about pine trees being toppled by these winds pretty easily. Destroyed a fence right there. There's plenty of other pictures around the state as well. There's one of some pretty scary looking clouds there, and that is from Benton, Arkansas. These were not tornadic, but they sure did look like they packed a punch, and saw plenty of winds in central and southern Arkansas today. Right now, we continue to monitor the tornadic circulation. Barry, Todd, has there been any change in the last 2 or 3 minutes that's good news?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The National Weather Service interrogating it like we are, and it says this storm's really a shell of its former self. Not that there's not a broad rotation with it, but I think they are going to, and they have canceled the tornado warning for that eastern part of the state over into Jackson County, into White County and northern Woodruff County. There's a broad view of the big heavy rain bands moving from Forest City to north of McCrory up to southern Jackson County, northern White County, north of Searcy, some pounding rain, moving toward Cleburne County now, and then ringing its way around the circulation center, which is well back, right now just still south of Little Rock by a little bit. But the rotation inside this storm is not nearly what it was, and so this storm is not tornadic for now. We are going to send you back to regular programming, and know that we will watch all of those little areas of rotation within these feeder bands of what was Hurricane Laura. We'll have much more coming up as needed, and we'll have much more tonight at 10 o'clock with team coverage around the state of Arkansas. Still a number of you without power tonight. You can always download the KATV app and watch any of these severe weather cut-ins from a smart device. But for now, we'll send you back to programming, and we'll keep an eye on it for you all evening long.